John,
There you go.
I don't do this very often.
and you're Diane.
Today I could do almost anything. My brain is like so maximum overdrive right now, it's like,
It's okay.
it's stuff full of medical records and codes and reports and,
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:05. And I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Close enough. Since Simone isn't here, we don't have minutes, so that takes care of that. And for new business, we have a draft proposal put together by Mr. Bell of the Trailhead District. And I assume you have hundreds of copies.
Oh, hundreds, yeah. I knew we'd have a big turnout tonight. At the last meeting, you asked me to come up with something, and it was all a bit vague. So that is what I came up with in response to that request.
Okay,
Then I
Is
got
that
your
one
email.
document?
Then I got your email. No, it's only a one-page document. I came up with a bunch of copies. When I got your email the other day, it became a little more clear what you were looking for. So I will apologize in advance for the amateurish nature of this,
Oh.
but
don't worry about it.
there you go.
You know how we do this. We start with something and it changes in moments. Well, when I emailed John, I asked if he would be kind enough to put together a draft for us that we could edit/tear to shreds, as per our usual approach. So,
okay, I'm gonna put one with the minutes, Donna, so she can,
yep,
I don't know
that's,
how she does that, but I'll put one with the
Terrific.
minutes anyway.
okay, what do I got here?
Of course, that sidewalk being tentative to wherever.
Well, it's
The
pretty
town hall.
hard drafting anything when you don't even know if we're gonna have a trailhead district yet. So I couldn't nail down the exact location of the trailhead pub, Sean.
Oh,
Yeah, but
maybe
there's
we
some
can
work,
get that
Paul.
far tonight.
You're gonna have to do some work.
worst comes to worst, we can have the Trailhead Pub Annex, which would be at 55 Campground Road. My house.
Home
Okay.
business, huh?
Have you shared this plan with your wife yet? Oh, okay.
We'll get a grant for that sidewalk.
I thought you had mentioned once before that there might be grant money available for sidewalks.
Nice use of the word deer.
Huh. You're gonna have to get in an arm wrestling contest with the fire department over that cut and shit.
That I'm sure is at least 5 to 10 years down the road.
You're an optimist.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Ted.
Did you do this in paint?
Yeah.
How did you get a uniform color? I thought you had it, oh, you created a polygon.
No, just, I did have to, firm up a few of the lines down in this area, and just use the paint bucket.
Really?
Application, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna model when I do that.
Do ya?
Yeah. I think it's probably, I can't dump the paint can very well. But it's much better if not.
I've had times in the past when I've had the same problem, but on that particular map, it worked
But
pretty
this is
well.
pretty clean, because this is a town,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a tax map, so it's much cleaner. Presentation.
Thank you.
I don't know if we go with the abbreviation TD, we might be able to get TD Bank to sponsor something in that.
Maybe they finance the Trailhead Pub.
America's most inconvenient. Canada's most inconvenient. Although that's a rather aged facility, maybe we could lure them out of there. It's like we'll give them the town account, that should do it.
Have them put in a small branch right there, so that way people needing money to go to the Trailhead Pub, just be able
You know, this is not becoming mixed use anymore, it's becoming single use, isn't it?
It's beginning to sound like a conflict of interest between a committee member and, I don't know.
Even worse if Doc was here. She was starting to name bidders after, coming up with names for the product.
Whenever everybody's ready, you can jump in.
I have a question, who owns that land 27? The owner of that land?
Is that 16?
Yeah, 16.
That's Maryland.
Yep. it's
Oh, it's all Maryland. Yeah,
She owns,
okay.
she owns across the road on 5 too.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
It'd be better if we had more than one lot, because otherwise we'll appear to be spots in it. So originally, I think, put in Russia's front lot in there too, even though it was residential, they want residential, that was 5B.
But we, you know,
But 2714, I think the only problem with 2714 is it's pretty wet back there.
is it?
That's. Isn't that Judy? Is where Judy Ann comes in?
Judy Ann's
That's further down.
That's further down, yeah.
Yep.
That's the daycare, that's not the daycare, that's 16A. There's nothing there on 2714, is there?
According to the town records, it's an empty lot.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
that's got a possibility.
if this is intended as a mixed-use district accommodating business, residential, community uses, wouldn't we really be looking at that whole area? Including existing residences, because that's the residential piece. So that precludes us from being accused of isolating one landowner in spot zoning.
So we could throw 16A and 16F in there.
Right.
I'd put 5A, 5C, 5B,
Yep,
and then all the lots starting in that corner all the way down.
yeah, Talbot Woods.
And I keep Talbot Woods out there limited by homeowners association.
But that doesn't mean they can't be in this district. You just can't do anything there, other than what's there.
Another district can't do anything and that's great.
Well, that's pretty much where we're going with all of this, and we know that, but, you know. No, seriously, it's like the Alfred Road District. We took from the Bedford line and went to the power lines and said, that's it, all of it, no matter who you are, what you're doing.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do the same thing here, I think, and just say, this whole area, this is part of the Trailhead District. But obviously, if you already live on, in Talbot Woods, that's the single home or single family residential
Yeah,
piece.
but in Alpha, you don't have another set of protective covenants and restrictions controlling. People can do what they want there, there's no association saying you can't.
Well, that's true, but,
I mean,
Well-
if somebody wanted to take a residence and convert it into a business, they're able to do that in the Alpha Code District.
Yeah.
They can't do this in Talbot Woods,
well,
unless they
yes,
change their covenants and restrictions, which I.
Right.
yeah,
Okay, is this whole thing Talbot Woods right here?
where the little cul-de-sacs
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
that
The
whole.
barbells
Yeah.
there, yeah, that's all Talbot Woods.
Well, I guess my argument, not that I disagree with you on that point, but Talbot Woods has to be in some district.
It's in the R1.
Right, so, even in the R one, you could potentially do some things that the, homeowners covenant wouldn't allow for Talbot Woods.
No, if the homeowners covenants don't allow it, I don't care what zone.
No,
it
that's
says.
my point.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Yeah,
agree with me.
Yeah.
So whether they're in R one and they can't do it because of the homeowners covenant, or whether they're in the trailhead district and they can't do it because of the homeowners covenant, they still can't do it.
Now, the little
the-
lot on the
right.
corner of Campground Road, is that part of Talbot Woods or not?
On which side of the road, on the east or the west?
How am I supposed
Well,
to?
Dan-
West is to the left and east is to the right.
I think the
All right.
one you're looking at, Diane, I think it's open space associated with
The
Talbot
Talbot Woods?
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the elbow-shaped lot there, between campground and
Yeah.
Talbot Woods.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
Yeah,
just
it is
wanted to
open
make sure.
space. That's actually their detention pond.
I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference one way or the other, but, so if we went up,
Well, it would, the difference it might make would be if you were trying to protect any setbacks from the trail to kind of keep it natural, so to speak. If anybody in one of those lots in Talbot Woods wanted to put a building right up against the boundary with the trail, you might have some say in restricting building right on top of the trail.
I think those, aren't those lots all developed though?
Yeah.
They are all developed, but what I'm saying is if somebody has got a house there
They
and
wanna
then
put
they
an
decide they
accessory
wanna put
building.
a
Oh,
big
okay,
shed.
right, I got it, yep.
It might give you a little bit of say in, you know, where it actually gets located.
What's this lot up here? That's cut off.
Below 14A, or up, you at the top or the bottom of the picture?
She did it upside down.
Well, I had to put it upside down because I put it the way it looks like when you're going down Limerick Road. It's
All
the
right.
only way I could figure out where anything
So
was.
point to it again,
This corner,
that corner. Oh, the one with a little dotted line associated with it.
yeah.
Okay. Lot 15.
Oh, that's all part of lot 15, is that what it is?
That's what it looks like to me.
Dotted line is a string.
Because it goes 5 and then it says 15 and then there's nothing in that corner.
I think the problem up in that area, Diane, I can't speak specifically to it, but I don't think there's any access. That's on the east side of the Eastern Trail. I think to the south of where they're putting the cottage project in. And I don't know that there's any highway access to it.
You mean that space that's above Talbot Woods right
Yeah.
here?
she's talking about.
That's part of Talbot Woods open space.
Oh,
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So that's committed.
Okay.
But 14A down on the other end, down at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
now is that just like a landlocked piece?
it's an odd shape, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Judianne Lane goes in down there somewhere. I don't know if there might be an access from there. Let me see if I can.
You got pedestrian access though.
Yeah. You can live there if you carry your stuff in on the back.
That's right.
No, there's a will, sometimes there's a way.
Yeah, I think Judy has legs in this.
We have a map and stuff, don't we?
We got the, you should be, if you've got the into that site, you should be able to hook up
I was
to
gonna
the,
get Google Map,
yeah,
do an aerial.
well, I was gonna try to get on the town's website and, pull up the,
It would show me
Town
exactly
map.
what's there.
huh?
It would well, yeah, you can pull it up, are you getting, I have access, holy mackerel. Wow,
Yeah, Wi-Fi.
It's a school.
yeah, but how do they let me in? Do
It's
they-
open.
Do they understand? Who are giving me access? Okay,
While you're in there, change everybody's grades,
just did.
just to see if anybody notices.
Summer school for everybody.
Oh, no, they don't like to do that. No child left behind.
Right.
Let's not even
No
start
teacher
that
left.
discussion.
We'll go there. Okay, you just go. Are you going on the website? Are you going on the, oh, I'm in the town website, so. There we go. I wanna get up and running. Oh, they have dial-up here. Online tax payments,
What do you want, back 27, is it?
You in the records?
Yeah, I got the map
Okay, good man.
right now.
So I'm gonna go to Google and get the
What map is this?
Well, that's map 27, that's, okay, it does show all of that lot 14A, and it doesn't look like there's any access from the road.
Judy Ann is,
I think, let me pull up map 28, I think that might show Judy.
well, that's south of, you got 14A, I'm not sure what that gray block is, but looks like Judy Ann Lane's on the other side of that property.
Yeah, but there could still be access because they have lots of contiguous pieces that all belong to the family.
Here's Judy, you got Judy here.
Yeah, 14 and 14A must have gone together at some point.
Okay, this is 28, that's the lot you were looking at, right? Yeah.
That's Judy Ann right there. See that connection there?
Oh, yeah.
That's Judy Ann. So, and you can see it here. That's Judy Ann right there, and this lot is right over here. Looks like it's this lot in here. Is that correct? Ooh. That's an interesting lot. They pay a lot of taxes. Because it's right in here, see right here? It's gotta be right here,
It looks like
Yeah.
it's 2 acres.
but no access.
Sure, so, okay.
Right, but if somebody was so inclined, they could buy something around it and then buy it and have access.
Yeah, we're,
Judy Ann Lane's down there. Eastern Trail.
Wish I could get this. Well, one thing we wanna make sure is we don't make it too big of a district, it's supposed to be community scale,
Yeah.
not industrial scale.
Thank you.
Or, bit of a crossing scale.
It's almost like you can do one side on one and then the other side of the road, like you could do 5C and 5B, right? Because that's trail side drive, so that's not restricted, right?
No, but I know the others are. I don't think we'd zone them, you'd have residential, but we zone them for, that they could have commercial in there,
You know?
Well,
We can talk, I mean, if we do what we do usually is we talk to people, I mean, we know what everyone's gonna say. But
And if we're looking long-term, they may not always be the owners.
most likely, the kids probably are not gonna be building here.
No, I meant the 5C,
Yeah, that's okay.
5B.
And that's usually the case, there's owners. if we were looking at 5 too, that's a pretty big parcel too. That's,
Well, it's got access to it, so.
yeah, it's all.
I mean, the other side, I hate to say it, but the other side doesn't have anything. While we could put them in the zone to do whatever, they wouldn't be, they're really not an asset to the zone.
Yeah, because you'd have to eliminate the use, I mean, you'd have to tear down the structure, and that's an immediate loss.
Well, no, I'm talking about Talbot, across the 5C, 5B. Even if they, why would they have to tear it down? They could use the building that was there.
No, I'm not saying, I thought you were talking about down in.
No,
like
what I'm
16
saying
up
is,
to 16A,
the
I'm
whole
sorry.
Talbot Woods piece
Yeah,
is, you can't do anything.
no.
So it's like you have to do 5B, 5C, I don't know where 5A is, but 5 and 5B and 5C. And then you could probably do 16, 27, 14. Even though it doesn't have access, it doesn't mean that it will always stay that way. As some of us who live in town, you never know. Sometimes you have access and sometimes you don't, and then whoops, all of a sudden somebody has access.
Maybe what we should do before we start parsing the boundaries too much is
Get
decide.
that from the property owners?
Well, no, that, yes, we need to do that obviously, but let's go to the actual language and description of the district. And see if, see if it makes sense to A, have it at all, and B, what is it going to encompass?
Here's a chance where we define small scale too, since there seems to be a misperception of,
In today's relativist world, in postmodern thinking, small goes anywhere from 200 square feet to 50,000 square feet, it's all relative. So perhaps we want to be a little more specific.
Well, let's do our usual, take it one sentence at a time. Trailhead designation applies to the area surrounding the intersection of Limerick Road and Eastern Trail. It is intended as a mixed-use district accommodating businesses, residential and residential and community uses.
Would there be any chance of getting a copy?
Well, no.
You don't have one?
I have one.
No, it's all right, I brought Tim, but I don't. think
Well,
we've got
somebody has a
10
pile
people.
then.
Someone right here is whole pile right here.
Oh, right,
I was
thanks.
gonna say,
You're a lifesaver.
Is there anything anybody wants to do with that first part? Okay.
Do we want this as a district, or should we talk about an overlay here? I mean, it's gonna be easier, huh?
let's get funky, overlays.
We got a bunch of them now,
Yeah, but the telecommunications and mobile home.
and
Mobile home.
stream protection, and shoreland, and,
Yeah, that's because the state makes us do
yeah,
it.
but we've got them,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have,
5 or 6 of them right now.
yeah, we have 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the plan, we've got the Route 111 corridor overlay district, which isn't in the zoning.
The scenic overlay.
Yes.
Yes, keep looking for the overlay.
I mean, I think John's thought is to allow people along the trail perhaps to take advantage of the people utilizing the trail with some business of some sort. Is that
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Well, it's also, yeah, and also.
And also to protect access.
Right, but I
That's the
mean, I'm
big
just
thing.
saying, that, it'd be easier to describe it as so many feet on either side of the trail as an overlay, so that we don't have to get into worrying about, the variety of lots that are
Then
here.
we start getting into splitting lots.
Well,
But but you'd only be able to, that's why it's an overlay, you'd only be able to do this kind of activity within the overlay area. Otherwise, whatever permitted uses are in your, whatever zone you're in are gonna apply.
Well, I
It
guess,
just expands your opportunity on your lot.
so if you let's say you've got the trail here and you go back 1,000 feet and the overlay district allows 200 feet, you can do whatever we decide within that 200 feet, and the rest of it, it's R1 that takes over.
Still R1.
Yeah. Just a quick question, which one of these options, an overlay or a new district, will make the planning board the least happy?
Oh. Why, is there punishment here?
Well, no, I know that after our last go-round, there was a general, what's the word, that I can use a polite company, a complaint, that's a good one, that when are you going to stop creating districts? And I responded by saying, not yet.
Well,
But I know they're not
in fairness,
fond of
some of those
overlays.
districts weren't, this committee went along with those concepts.
Well, yeah, no, let's not go back and revisit that.
I
That
don't
was
want
just
to.
my question was, is the planning board more or less agreeable to another district or an overlay? And also, which is easier for them to implement?
Probably a district, only from the standpoint. Remember, this is twofold. I mean, originally when I think you guys were talking about this was, yes, this was to provide basically services to the Eastern Trail, but we know that there's not enough traffic in there for anybody to have a real business dependent only on the Eastern Trail. We have some that do that right now, informal, and they just marginal. So we also were looking at this as being a sort of a neighborhood commercial district for the urban, excuse me, we're not using that term, but for the R1 district that's extending up and down Limerick Road. So this was gonna be sort of like a small commercial neighborhood center for development in the R1 district as it fills in.
So you can conceivably just have a little neighborhood corner store.
The objective was it serves two user groups. It serves, the Eastern Trail people, we try to cut Barry off at the knees, this is told us. And the other one would be obviously to provide services to people in this dense residential neighborhood. And for Arundel, if this is all 1 acre lots, it will be a dense neighborhood, because we see that on New Road, and we've seen that out in Clearview Acres, and we have infill still going on. So it becomes a dense area over time, and that will create some sort of demand for local services. Or an opportunity for somebody to have a business there, they can pull both of those market groups in, at the same time provide a service to the neighborhood, and so it's a neighborhood commercial, and the state will probably love it.
You know we live to please the state.
I know you do. But it's just, it's justifiable that way. When we call it a neighborhood commercial district, it's more justifiable that way.
But the overlay concept would extend the possibility down the length of the Eastern Trail, and not just isolated in this area.
Yeah, because this area, the only thing that could possibly be utilized, I think, for that is the Mrs. Young's lot.
And the Rush's front lot, which is.
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
That's it.
Yeah.
What if we did both?
I just think,
Well,
if we have
no.
a district, all of a sudden we're gonna have another district on this map, another color on this map. And it's gonna involve properties that simply are never gonna be developed in the way that's envisioned by this district.
Well, remember, the entire BI district backs up against the Eastern Trail. So people have we've got that whole length in there.
Just on one side, not the other side.
Yeah, it's just on one side.
Right.
The other side, we've got Mountain Road, which is,
And we've got a lot
that's
of.
where we already have a business or two out there. They're trying to work off the Eastern Trail.
Mm.
And they're just, they're basement businesses. But the issue there is, A, traffic on Mountain Road, and B, access. In some cases, some of these lots are pretty far away. In some cases, they aren't. Mountain Road, they're pretty close in the middle. At the Oliver lot, land at that end, it's a good half mile to the trail there. And then when you get to Hidden Meadows, it gets pretty close there. Halsey land, it's relatively close. And then it starts expanding as we get farther and farther out. It gets farther and farther away.
Well, if the cottages ever develop,
Yeah.
and depending where this district is, the overlay is, that might be an opportunity for them to put some type of,
But they could do that already, because they're on the
Already.
BI side. They're in the
Yeah.
BI
so they
district.
end up behind.
Yeah, but then they
That
also-
comes down to.
The BI starts at Fritz's, it
Fritz's.
goes all the way.
Okay.
So,
I think the over, no, go ahead, John.
I kinda like Tom's idea of going the whole length of the trail, because where so much of the trail is bounded by the BI, if having that overlay district will give us the opportunity to restrict, let's say, somebody putting a 10,000 square foot warehouse in the BI with the back wall right up against the eastern trail. It obviously detracts from the trail. If we were to have this overlay district, and if the overlay district were to include building setbacks from the trail, I think it could be a real plus factor, for the trail. Am I making any sense here, or?
You may, but I have to say, as a taxpayer, I wouldn't wanna have a business not come because they can't build on a piece of property that's already set aside to do business just because of the trail that doesn't pay taxes.
I agree with you, but I think most of the lots that border on the trail, there's some pretty good-sized lots out there. And if we had a 20, 30, 50-foot setback, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be, a suitable place to build and still.
And you can give them alternatives too. I mean, talk about architectural standards
Yeah.
that maybe comport with the trail in terms of what you would see, rather than the back of a concrete or
Right, I
block
mean, they
building,
could,
something like
they
that.
could
You-
put some screening, they could
Right.
put, but I just wanna be careful as we discuss this, that I prefer but I don't want it to be this narrow little thing. It'd have to be big enough to be able to let, if somebody wanted to build a parking lot, I mean, even if they charge people to park, people would probably pay it.
Yeah, but well, yes, that's true. Can't stop
For
it.
example, he said, build house at the bus rail to the trail, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. But there is a setback that he has to provide also, because it's a rear setback in that zone, was it 35 feet or 50 feet? You can put a building within,
In R1, it's probably 25 feet.
25 from the rear.
Yeah.
okay, so,
Well, that's R2 there.
Oh, okay, that's still probably 25 feet in R2,
I
isn't
think
it?
it's
Probably 35.
All right.
so.
All right.
You could put a building there, I'm just saying, and have entrance, people could go there, I don't know. And if he's got money to do that, I don't know, but I'm just saying, possibility.
All right, why don't, let's,
He has to do a lot of stuff because they avoid that portion of the trail because of that.
What was that?
They avoid that portion of the trail right now.
No?
Which portion of the trail is this we're talking about now?
Going basically north from here, it would be about 1,500, 2,000 feet from the end of the road. Maybe not even, yeah, about that much.
You talk about that area where the guy has got all the dogs penned up?
Yeah, it's, I've got a Google map, why am I expecting?
Yeah, no, I know exactly where you're talking
Oh,
about.
mountain
It's
there.
right here,
Yeah, I've avoided that myself, I've gone down the other way
Yeah.
just because it's not particularly pleasant walking.
Right, but sometimes a financial incentive will change somebody's,
plans.
yes.
But then again, there are some people that just like to be a stick in the mud and just like the,
Well, I know how those people are.
we won't mention any names.
If we're going to entertain the idea of an overlay, then perhaps what we should do is have our usual approach, map the whole length of the Eastern Trail, see what's on both sides all the way up and down. And it might be that if we're gonna do an overlay, that the overlay portion of it might logically be deeper in some areas, and then we narrow it down in other areas because of existing issues, existing uses, what have you. But, you know, I kinda like that idea too. I think it's got a whole lot more potential than just a little area here limited to a few parcels.
And we also have to worry about not diluting the whole concept down either. I mean, if you string businesses all along the Eastern Trail, you're not gonna have a center location. And,
They do it along the Appalachian Trail.
yeah, they do, but they still have nexuses along the Appalachian Trail. They have
But
located.
this isn't a good spot for it.
No,
This,
Huh?
that's a great little spot for a small neighborhood commercial shopping center. It's a great place.
Where? That's it.
Maryland's land. It's terrific.
But we're never gonna get Maryland's land.
No, Maryland, no, we're not gonna get Maryland. Maryland's kids are gonna do it,
No,
I would assume.
we don't know.
I don't know. But
Don't
it's a
ever
business
assume.
opportunity. No, well, it's a business opportunity, isn't it? All you have is residential. This gives you something else.
But they're still gonna be competing with the store half a mile up one way and a mile up the other way.
What, Hannaford? Yeah.
No, they've got the store up
Gotta run
J
the market.
Brothers.
on the market and,
Um,
and the one at the corner of Log Cabin and
J
Route
Brothers.
1, J Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm
And then
not,
there are no antique shops, no automotive shops.
I just don't think this is
Just like-
good from a traffic perspective, that's we've had discussions about that, board of selectmen over and over again.
no, and I think that
Well,
for
right
me,
now,
doing,
right now, you've got a horrible traffic
Yes.
situation there. And
Yes.
the whole point of trying to protect some of this land around the trailhead was, I think, the number one priority before we start talking about locating businesses there, is to get some off-road parking.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we put in that parking area alongside the road, which probably is sufficient for 5 cars.
Mhm.
But I went down there just a few days ago, there are 3 cars parked on it, all spaced so that you couldn't get a 4th car in there if you tried.
Right.
And there is another car parked on the other side of the street,
Mhm.
in the middle of 50 no parking
Okay,
signs.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we know.
And
But-
now there's even a TV set that was dumped off on the side of the street too.
Yeah. According to
Oh,
Google,
well, TV.
there's a Cold Spring bottling plant there. It says Nestle Waters.
but I think
Does Hollis
that,
know this?
Yeah.
tell us know what.
That there's a Nestle's Waters is in Talbot Woods.
Mm.
That's where the bottling plant apparently
that's
is.
all right, I have a gas station in my field across the road.
That's right, my house is down the street.
I had a road going right through my
But
house.
with opening this up, going up the trail, I'm not thinking so much about big businesses or retail or things like that. But it may open up people to allow people to park and have like little stands where they may sell water, things that they want to use on the trail. And people would probably be willing to park to use the trail so that they don't, because I don't think people like using Limerick Road. It's dangerous,
don't.
it's not a good place.
Yeah.
If I was to use a trail and somebody said, well, if you pay me $5, you can park here and there's no traffic and you can just put your car, I'm gonna pay that $5 versus parking on Limerick Road. And so you allow people to, you know, it's like going up to Freiburg Fair, you know, the rest of the year it's all nice and quiet, and then during Freiburg Fair, they just bring in the money. So in the summer, you allow some of the people that own land next to it to allow people to park and use their property, which probably wouldn't be an allowed use right now, without getting grief from their neighbors. You know, you could limit how many parking spaces they could have depending on how big their lot sizes is or something like that. But I think opening it up would also spread some of it so you don't have so much traffic just in one spot.
If we did the overlay, and going back, because what Diane was just talking about kind of gave me an idea. If in this area, we broadened it out, so that you did have the opportunity for that small business district that you envision that is probably never going to happen. That doesn't eliminate the possibility. So we you know, as you go down the Eastern Trail, it might be, you know, kind of narrow and then broaden out an area, come back down, get to Limerick Road, become significantly broader, and then narrow down again. And that allows everything that we've discussed as potential to happen.
We have, boy, I'm gonna feel like, I'm an advocate of this, but I'm gonna end up being sort of like a Mr. Cold Shower here. We also have another factor, and that's called limited access. This is a limited access highway, if you wanna think of it in those terms.
The trail.
Yeah, it is. For public, you know, for established public crossings and so forth, and it's two parties. One is Unitil, and the other is the Eastern Trail Management District. You know, and the district is more driven more by Unitil than trying to maintain good relations with Unitil, because they have only prescribed entrance points in their contract with Unitil, in the easement. Because they've got a recreational easement, permanent recreational easement on there, but Unitil has approved only certain access points. Usually at crossings like this, they overlook things like, in Talbot Woods, some people have some stairs that go down, they don't say anything about that, but if you started licensing commercial access points, you know, and they're unlimited, we might have a problem. So I think if we wanted to do that kind of concept, we should probably talk to Eastern Trail Management District and do some feelers with Unitil too.
Well, wouldn't we have the same problem with this concept?
No, because we would have a central location, we would have a limited access, it's like a limited access highway. You know, we could negotiate this one location,
Okay.
you know, or one or two locations in this area. And also, frankly speaking, the way I was always looking at it is in the ordinance change, in the ordinance structure, what you would do is also, to get the permit, conditional use permit, there would be a certain amount of the parking that would be open to the general public. That it wouldn't be limited just to customers. Well, and anybody who's a good businessman is gonna sit there and say, sure, let them park here. You know, I'm gonna get a percentage of people who aren't going to come into my store, but depending on what you've got, there's also a certain number of people who are gonna do impulse buys. And they're gonna come in, they break a shoelace, they're gonna come in and get that. They wanna get some food, they wanna get, you know, their bicycle's got a broken tire or something like, you know, any of those kind of things, that's an opportunity. And you're parked there, so you've got a captured audience. Since you got a captured audience on both sides. So that was one of the things that I had envisioned occurring here, and I'm not sure we'd be able to do that as much if we have it scattered up and down the trail. So there's two concerns I've got. And you know, it's not that I don't like the idea, because I like the idea of encouraging anybody who's on the trail to come up with a business, but there's also logistics of dealing with Unitil. And you know, I know this is on camera, but I know that the seasonal cottages keep touting that they've got Eastern Trail, but they got two problems. They gotta cross the pipeline, because the pipeline's on the east side over there. They gotta cross that pipeline with something semi-commercial, and they haven't even begun to negotiate with Unitil or the Eastern Trail Management District yet. So,
But right now, we have one entrance into the Eastern Trail, correct? That's it.
we
one.
have one town public access, yeah, we have one public access.
Right. So, you know, I think it would behoove the association to find a process to allow more access, because that helps everybody.
The association, you mean Joe's, the seasonal cottages?
No,
Eastern Trail.
the Eastern Trail Association.
Oh, well, they would love it, but it's two things, it's logistics and economics.
Right, but they would be the ones to work with anybody who wanted to do this. So yes, they'd have to be a party to it.
It
But,
listens.
you know,
They
one,
might even also have someone that would be open. They might know someone, you know, hey, if you know of anybody that's, looking to open up some space where I could put in like a bike shop or something along the Eastern Trail. That, he's like, don't care where it is. They're just willing to look, get onto the Eastern Trail somewhere.
I don't think they're gonna be as much of a problem as Unitil, just from that standpoint. You know, public access has always been controlled by private property owners and Unitil. But we had to go through a lot at the hospital, because the hospital pipeline's on the opposite side, but the field connection to the hospital It's right down that pathway that you access at Southern Maine Hospital. And we had to do some special design there and get special permission to use that as an access, and that was always one of the access points. We had to go through a lot to get that in there. Because that's, you know, that's the nature of, these guys are concerned about their gas line, and they do everything to protect it, and so they're very, very, very careful.
That's good.
I want them to be even more, I'd love them to be so careful they wanna replace it. Have a replacement plan, right now they don't. They have a maintenance in place.
If we were to go with the overlay, just because
Yeah.
we say, it's okay to open a business on land that's adjacent to the eastern trail, that, the owner of that land, or whoever it is that wants to open the business, still has to deal with the Eastern Trail Management
Yep,
and/or Unitil.
yep.
So it's not like we're giving somebody the right to open a business there. We're saying as far as the town is concerned, you're okay. But it's not like we're saying that we're overruling any opinion that the Eastern Trail Management might have or that Unitil might have. Anybody that wanted to use access to the trail would still have to go through a procedure, you know, with Eastern Trail Management and Unitil.
Yeah.
Just like any business would have to go to the planning board, they have to go to
Yeah.
the Trail Association and.
It's a little different, because the planning board has to hear it, Unitil doesn't. And if
But
you
all
go with the
we're
railroad or
doing is
utility,
allowing
you know
them the
what I'm talking
mechanism
about.
to be able to, right now, they can't do that.
No, technically, no, they can't do that. And so it sounds like if we're gonna do the overlay, I think that we need to get somebody from the Eastern Trail to, we need to have a discussion with the Eastern Trail. And since I'm not in the executive committee, I've stepped down from that. I'm just the original rep. I mean, I can introduce that and bring it as an agenda item to discuss it and get their reactions to that. If you want me to, I'd be happy to. Don't know if I can get on, I don't know what that means. I don't know if I can get on this Wednesday's agenda. I might be able to do an agenda amendment, but if we wanna do this, I can bring that discussion up and get some feedback.
I have another question.
Sure.
Is my perception of the Eastern Trail is for people to be able to walk, ride bicycles in a somewhat natural setting.
The off-street, yeah, that's the intent of the off-street.
Well, that's our section. Right, so the
Yes.
Eastern Trail in Arundel.
Right.
So this is a, you know, get out and commune with nature, listen to the birds,
Mhm.
watch the deer bound, etc. Are we doing anybody any favors by potentially allowing a row of businesses on either or both sides of the Eastern Trail? So now as they commune with nature, they can stop at the pub, the bike shop, get a shoelace, get a sandwich. Why not just stay in Biddeford?
No, or West Kennebunk, because that's what that's what Kennebunk is planning to do with West Kennebunk.
See, I'd be
They're
more
building
interested in
all
the
of it.
parking than too many
Well,
businesses.
that's more or less one of the motivations we had when we couldn't get parking. That was one of the motivations when we first started talking.
So I
There's a way to
guess
get parking.
I'm sort of questioning, even though it's a nice concept, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, are we really gonna be doing anybody any favors with this approach?
Well, here's.
Or maybe we are better off just, you know, if our problem is parking and, you know, maybe one or two small businesses to form that little nexus, you know, maybe that's really what we should come up with.
Yeah, that might be it. I mean, the idea is to provide services to trail, taking advantage of the services trail users need, and they always need some services. They always stop somewhere. There's a growing number of through bikers, and it increases the more off-road trail is built. And there probably gonna be more now that the transportation button passed, because some of it was designated for trail development. But you get a lot of people coming up from southern New England who want to, and the mid-Atlantic states who want to do the Eastern Trail, because they get to go from Gary, Or Wells, they'll get off at Wells, if they're taking the train, they get off at Wells, because that was a bike unloading area. And they take the trail up, and it's on and off-road in between. And the big thing they always need is they need to stop for certain services. They wanna get a sandwich, they need to use a bathroom. Well, really.
It's woods on either side.
Yeah, exactly. Although, remember, we did have a rescue that we had to do, somebody who got lost on our section of the trail going off the side. Don't know how, but they did.
There's probably something else involved in that.
No comment. But, the simple fact is that, you get people who need services along the way, or who want services. Some of them might, a lot of them are, yeah, moms who are just going for a 2-mile hike, you know, between Kennebunk School, and they'll go down to Limerick, or they might go down to Hidden Meadow and then turn around and come back.
What
There's
is,
nothing in between,
What-
and there's
what-
nothing at the Biddeford end either. You come out of Cole Road and there you go on 111.
well, there's lots of
Lots of
possibilities there.
possibilities there, but usually you're terrified.
What-
Too terrified to stop.
What's the actual length of the Eastern Trail in Arundel?
Oh, jeez, I think it's 2.6, I believe.
All right,
2.6 miles? No, it's more than that.
You think it's 3.2?
I think it's between 4 and 5.
No, it's not 4, the whole section between, okay, Sean's gonna measure, cool. The whole section between Kennebunk and West Cole Road is 6.1 miles. Know this, so
6.1?
I
Okay.
GPS the whole thing, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, when I mean, you're right, I don't know, you're right, it's more than 2.3. I think it's
Yeah.
more like 3.8 or something like that.
all right, well, as long as I've asked a hard question, let me follow it up with
And
another
that's
one.
something I should really know.
I thought you might.
I should.
Thought it was a gimme.
I can look it up, I'll get back to you.
Let's say, just for the sake of argument, it's 3 miles, okay? Where in that 3 miles is the intersection with the Limerick Road? Is it centrally located? Is it a third of the way?
It's pretty,
Fairly central.
it's pretty close central, because actually that's a point that they use in the Harvest Half Marathon as a
How many
measuring
miles
point.
was it from
And,
Melanie's house to Biddeford
you know, it's pretty central.
when you were biking?
Okay,
People
so,
use that as a lot,
Like
as a place to start. or
3,
stop.
4,
all right,
almost
Especially
so,
as
4
these walking
rounds it
events.
up.
so
Going back and
that
forth.
makes sense
Oh, going back
for
and
that
forth,
reason
it's
as
like
well, not just the fact
almost
that it's a major
7,
intersection,
8
but if it's centrally located.
I think it's up to,
And I guess, you know, going back to how much length do we actually have? Let's even say it's 4 miles. How many services can you need in 4 miles?
The thing about the services though, Donna, is right now you've got the state of New Hampshire negotiating with Pan Am Railroad. They've offered them $4.5 million for a right-of-way on Pan Am's stretch between Salisbury, New Hampshire and Kittery, Maine. Now, you're not gonna take,
That's an active line,
huh?
isn't that the active line?
Well, I don't know if it's the line or the
There'll be a
right-of-way.
section for the runners.
Yeah, but they don't want to share trails and trains and trails, they've been adamantly against it, this might be something breakthrough.
Well, I don't know all the details, but it was on the news about a week ago, 2 or 3 times, that the state had offered Pan Am $4.5 million. Now, you get stretches like that, assuming that deal goes through at some point. I think you're gonna see the traffic on this trail increase exponential. So I don't think it's gonna be a case where we're talking about what does somebody need after they've just jogged 2 miles. You might have somebody who's just biked 50 miles who needs.
I understand that,
something.
but I guess when I'm looking at, Kennebunk on one end or Kennebunk Port,
Yeah.
West Kennebunk, whatever, and Biddeford on the other, so Arundel is sort of I can phrase this either one of 2 ways. It's either the sweet spot where we have just nature, or it's the dead spot where you have no services. And
But if we do it the way Arundel has always done it, we'll have the dead spot with no services.
call it what you will.
but there's not much for services in Biddeford either.
No, there's
There's
no,
nothing,
No,
and
no.
I
Right
don't
now,
think
there's
there's much
nothing in
in
Kennebunk.
going up Kennebunk either.
well, there's nothing going on at Kennebunk right now. There's nothing, you end up at school, that's it, then you get on the road and you go down 35 and you take right onto, I forget the name of the road there. and you bike on the road.
And I think
And there's
that,
nothing on that road either.
for me, I'm not concerned about having too many, and the reason I'm not concerned about having too many is because of the process they're gonna have to go through. If they have to go through the association and have to go through Unitil, it has to be something thought out. So I don't think we're gonna end up with 50 of them in that stretch, because I think that the Trail Association and Unitil will limit it, period. They won't allow 50 different places to have access and parking and businesses on the trail. I don't envision that. If they've been as protective as they have so far, I don't see them allowing 50 places within that period of time. So I think that will keep it limited. And then, as a town, we can limit what they have out there. You know, you
Well,
can
yeah,
limit
the
it.
planning board would do that
Right,
normally anyway,
right.
when they make their list of
Yes, you know,
acceptable uses.
as a town, we're gonna vote on what that district looks like. So we can limit it to, you know, coffee and water, or, you know, small staples, or a repair shop, or, you know, things like that. I don't even, the problem, it would be nice if you could put something on the corner here, but I'm not holding my breath for that to happen.
I tell you, if that land becomes available, I can tell you what's going in that corner.
Yes. Along with the parking, we'll charge them
Exactly.
as a town. But in the meantime,
I'm good with that.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect
I'm
spot
good
for
with
it.
that.
Yeah. It is, because if you were to put a town hall on that corner, you could put a trail access in back of the
Absolutely.
town hall. It's a
And charge them.
perfect
Parking's all
setup.
there, I mean, it's,
and
Yeah.
charge them.
Yeah.
And we could have concessions if we wanted to.
Yep.
We could do a concession, I mean, why not? And that's
Question.
one thing I'm trying to convince the Eastern Trail, the problem that I was always, you know, fighting them on is, guys, you're a 501c3, you're thinking like a government, you're a 501c3, why don't you start charging for access? You can make some money, so you can take some pressure off the municipalities who keep paying the dues by renting access. And when they finally, when the light bulb goes on, and says, hey, we can be in private enterprise, and maybe take some pressure off our municipalities by being a little more self-sufficient.
You'd be the
Then
first
I
one to go,
think-
hey, that's a hell of an idea.
Yeah.
If someone would have thought of it sooner.
So why should they do that when they're getting free money from the taxpayers?
So
That would
that's to
require-
sustain them. I mean,
But
they
the other,
have
the
to-
other approach requires effort.
No, it requires gumption. It requires
And
coming up
effort.
with a policy and saying, hey, you want access? This is what we need. This is what it costs to get access to this exclusive location. If you don't want that access, just go down the Limerick Road and get on there. Good luck getting a parking space. You know?
All right. Let's go back to the language that John has here, because would this language serve us just as well for an overlay district as for a district?
I think this language, it would have to be different language for an overlay.
All right, let me
Completely
rephrase that. The intent of the language. We're looking at still, for example, under uses. Trailhead District would permit small-scale retail office, service, and community uses, as well as single and multifamily dwellings. Mixed-use projects would also be permitted. Well, if we just look at, I would like to propose that we eliminate the word office. I don't see that as practical for this,
Yeah.
but,
Well, if you,
I mean, even for this little area here, I don't.
in all practicality, the only place this thing's really gonna work besides the BI district, which is, you know, anything goes, is in the R2 along Mountain Road. It's the only other place they can do this. Because you can't do it anything south of Limerick Road because there's no access, there's nothing out there. It's a swamp and it's actually part of some funky swamp down there, down below until you get to the Kennebunk line, until you get to the river. It's desolate, and that's about I don't mind. Through there, not a little less, but,
Too bad it's so late in the year to walk it, so you can see it.
it's a good time of year to go, just wear orange.
Oh, believe me, I don't step
All
foot
the
out of my
leaves are
house
down now,
without
you see
orange.
it.
You can see a lot now, it's actually the best time to go on a walk, it's a great place to walk. But, If you're doing it as a corridor through there, you have to think of the most vulnerable, or the section of the population that's gonna be the most resistant to this, and it's gonna probably be the residential, the R2 district along Mountain Road. So when you start talking about multifamily in an R2 district,
Well, that would have,
Open-ended.
that would have to
That
come
would be
out,
a-
right,
And
if we were doing an
For me, I
overlay.
think you'd leave the district with the uses that are already there.
Yeah,
And then you take this overlay and say, okay, within this overlay,
you can do these things.
you can do these things.
Well, that
If
was-
you do this, and this.
That was part of what I was trying to weed out here. But, all right. Where do we wanna go from here? Do we wanna pursue the overlay, get a map, look at what we're really looking at the next time? Or do we wanna go back to Plan A and just talk about a little
decision, folks.
next?
Yeah, so you've got, actually, we've expanded. We started with a little district, and now we're looking at a much more, we're looking at a larger opportunity. And, you know, we are talking about providing an opportunity.
Well, if we're gonna do it, I think we have to look at it. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna
Well,
decide in the end to do the whole thing,
Right,
but I think unless you see what the parcels are and what the access is, we don't know.
Tad,
Yes, sir.
what I'm just thinking though, you were saying that the Unitil has their pipes, which would basically be on the east side of the trail.
East side, yeah, it's pretty much on the east side.
So
It's
you're
to an
looking
advantage.
at, you know, Unitil possibly having a, you know, not a fuzzy feeling when someone that's on the BI side wanting to have an access going over there.
Right.
And then you're dealing with Mountain Road with, well, you got residential houses in there, but it's kind of out of the way.
They're pretty packed in there. I mean, Bass Lane and Hidden Meadows is small, not much there, but there's a lot along the road.
But I mean, do we really wanna try and bring more traffic down Mountain Road?
That's the issue. I mean, that's why we wouldn't let Joe come out on Hidden Meadows, is because we wouldn't want to put all that traffic on that road. Because it was just too much traffic. It would have been a through, you know, it would have been a through shortcut to Route 1, but it was also just letting all those 259 lodging facilities dump onto Mountain Road. The planning board said, too much impact.
I think
So,
that
I'm
Donna
just
had a
thinking
very
that
good
between the
point
two.
about, we're not doing anybody any favors by stringing businesses along the whole length of this thing. The trail is supposed to be a natural thing. I think your point about maybe keeping this in one specific area around Limerick Road makes a lot of sense.
But what if this never becomes available?
then it never becomes available.
And there was, but we did look at piece X down here.
Well, we did look at lots along Mountain Road, probably, what, year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah, we're looking for parking, trying to find
Yeah.
a park, an excuse to
Yeah.
find a place to park.
My recollection is there wasn't much of anything that was suitable. In fact, I think you said there was nothing suitable.
Well,
at the
Well,
time.
There's
There
an
was Halsey's,
empty
and that
lot
was
with a
about
big
it.
giant garage on the end of, I can't remember what the name of that road is where Melanie lives.
Yeah, and then the problem is
That's
that's a
like-
private road.
Trout Brook Road.
No, it's an association road. So
Yeah.
if you bought that property, you buy into the association. And if you're willing to use some of the funds from parking to help maintain it,
What, just so we can put this to rest for sure. I mean, because it's not a bad idea at first glance, and then we come up with reasons why maybe it's not such a good idea. For the next meeting, can you put together a map for us so we can actually look at the possibilities and we can say there are some, or no, it's just not
Do you want an aerial?
not feasible?
You want an
Yeah.
aerial so you can
Yeah.
see what's on the ground?
Yeah, and, you know, include this piece so we can kind of kill two birds with one map.
Okay, I won't go beyond Phil's property right down here because there's nothing down there.
All right,
I
Yeah.
mean, you can make the assumption that it's empty all the way down to the river,
Okay.
and it is. So, and the problem is, of course, access. The only access really down on that side, from the Arundel side, is through Maryland's. That's about it.
Okay, now you,
But I'll put that map together, and I'll pull that in, I'll just, any features you want the wetlands and stuff on it, or just leave that on?
Whatever we would need to make a good decision about whether this is
Sometimes
feasible or not.
wetlands is helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, it's very helpful if you can't build on it because of the wetland.
It's,
not
if we,
feasible.
you know, if we want property lines and, you know.
Yeah, no, it'll have all that.
does any of the property that abuts the Eastern Trail down at that end, that you say you don't wanna put a copy of it, are the lots just on the Eastern Trail, or are they part of a bigger lot where part of it is out by the road and the soil is better, but then part of it in the back is nasty?
Well, that was, like the Emerson lot, or the Kerr Emerson lot, the one with the house right across from Rainy West's place.
Yep.
Big open space, and they got the house for sale. That goes in an angle down there, but it falls short of the Eastern Trail down there.
Right,
So
but what I'm,
there's an intermediate, that's the only other one that had possibility, but doesn't make it.
okay, the reason I'm asking is because some of the pieces of property down on that end are rather large.
They're huge. Yeah.
Right. Now, you might not be able to build a parking lot down by the Eastern Trail. But if the lot is big enough, and say it comes out like this, okay? So the trail is here, the lot is here, and you can do parking here and bike in because there's enough of a trail and enough area to be able to bike into the Eastern Trail or walk into the Eastern Trail. Why would you not consider that lot?
Cost of building a road to go out there, and the.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You build,
Yeah, that's it.
okay, you build your parking, say this is one whole lot. Here's your Eastern Trail, the rest of it's all one big lot. But a lot of this is wetland, okay?
I'm just looking at it on the map, Diane, and I don't think there's anything that goes out to a road.
Okay,
There's a couple of big lots down there, but one of them doesn't quite make it to the trail. Okay, well, you got this one,
Yeah, that's
which comes in from
Emerson
the road,
piece.
Emerson, and he doesn't get to the trail. You got this one that's next to the trail,
That's
that,
Phil's piece.
that doesn't go to Limerick Road. And then you've got this 4A,
but does it have,
which
but does
goes
it have
to-
access?
That's the
which
truth.
also doesn't get to Limerick Road, and then you've got the river. So there's nothing down there that
Okay.
connects with the road and the trail.
If it doesn't come to Limerick Road, does it have access to the lot? Does it have a road to the lot? Even if it's not on Limerick Road, even if it's off Limerick Road?
You mean, does it have access to a different road than Limerick Road?
All right, you drive down Limerick Road, you take a right,
Yeah.
and you go down that person's road a quarter, 1/4 of a mile, and then he owns the lot. He has a parking spot, and then you have a trail where you can take your bike or you can walk to the Eastern Trail. Is what I'm saying, is it doesn't necessarily have to be off Limerick Road or off Main Road. As long as they have enough of a road to be able to get into the parking, and the parking doesn't have to be up against the trail. It just has to be enough access to be able to park and be able to either walk in or bike in without getting hit by a car.
Yep.
That's what I was asking, and that's why I wanted to see the lots going,
I'll do the whole length.
Yeah,
That's the
that way
easiest
we can,
solution. I'll do the whole
yes, we'll just eliminate,
I'm not familiar with it, I just see it from one side, so,
Yep, no, I understand. Yeah, I understand that a lot of folks haven't been down that way, so they don't understand. And I've walked that Emerson piece all the way to the river. I wasn't on Emerson's land when I did, as I found out. So, yeah, I'll show you that. I'll bring the whole smash in so you can see it.
all right, and that gives us direction. And it'll either be something we can continue to discuss, or we can put it to rest.
Yep.
Okay. The next thing on our list, and I know this is why Bud is here, our Natural Resource Conservation District.
Yep.
And we looked at that last time and we said, wow, this needs something.
Yep.
So,
Well, I came up with something. I came up with a list of things that start conversation and cause enmity and frustration.
And dissension?
That, without question, is
Okay,
one of
good.
the hallmarks in there. I'll let you spread it around. It's only one sheet.
Glad to hear you.
Do you have one done? Oh,
So I kind of expanded and I expect cross-outs in here. So I threw a whole bunch of stuff, including the kitchen sink in here, because, you know, this has always been a mystery district to me. And I think to the rest of the board members, it's been a mystery district. Why is this here? And it's a good concept, but I don't know if it's been applied, because it was always applied to RP districts. In fact, most of the locations, except along the river, are RP locations, as Bud knows. It's overlaying, a good portion of it was overlaying the RP district in his situation. And so the RP district is a resource protection district, which says, you can't do nothing here. Oh, you can do a little bit of, you can do conservation activities and maybe put in a fire road if you get the right permits. Timber harvesting is heavily regulated now by the state. Town doesn't even get involved in it. And so the issue is, what the heck was this thing here for? And so nobody could give us a good answer on this.
I could probably give you one, but it wouldn't be nice.
Well, okay, but the thing is, we kept it in when we took the comp plan to the voters this fall, or this spring. We kept it in here, we didn't eliminate it.
That's right.
We kept it in, so we said, what can we do with this?
But it wasn't even one that we really got into a lot of discussion.
Well, no,
about.
We trimmed off a lot of stuff on it. But, I mean, the objective of this is to say, okay, what do we want? And this was created for some reason. And I tried to go through some minutes and find out what it was, and it's still a mystery to me. So I said, okay, if we decide to keep this, what do we want this district to do? This is a natural resource conservation district. This is gonna be something that's gonna be special beyond the rural conservation district, right? Because the rural conservation district is some large planning goals for a very large portion of the town. And that's intended to preserve rural character, which we're still defining. The Natural Resource Conservation District basically says this is for natural resource conservation of those resources that we deem to be important in this town. And the one thing that seemed to be important that was echoed in the Natural Resource Conservation District was to control development along the land that fronts the Kennebunk River, exclusive of the area, frankly speaking, down where Route 1 crosses. And then there were issues like we're gonna take deer wintering yards out of the. Let me preface this. The planning board will be looking at shoreline zoning again, because shoreline zoning changed again since the last time we did it in 2010, and it's less restricted now. So the planning board wants to go back and yank some stuff out of there. They want to yank deer wintering yards out of there. They want to yank that are in there right now. There are a number of things in there that are very restricted that they want to yank out. So there's a lot of natural resource protection stuff that's not going to be in the resource protection district anymore once we do that. We still will base it on the state's national wetland inventory where it's appropriate, and also their beginning with habitat program, which they pushed about 7 years ago, in which they actually did rate various wetlands and habitats in the town of Arundel based on a list of criteria, and they rated them. So, those exist. And there's the critical areas program, there's IF&W's programs on various things like the deer wintering yards and New England cottontail yards, which we don't have any, frankly speaking. Farmland soils, we talked about farmland soils, we don't have anything in our district about farmland soils. We don't have a lot in the town. Question is, do we want to protect farmland soils? It's not something we really discussed in the Rural Conservation District very much. This might be something where we could use something like that. The basic premise is the use that you would be permitted to do is single-family homes, 3-acre lots. Nothing different from what we did before. It was in the RP district, excuse me, the resource protect, too many R's. The rural conservation district is 3 acres, this is 3 acres. So it's not more restrictive in the rural conservation district. It would be more restrictive in other districts. It might be more restrictive, I can't think of any district. Because all along the river is the R4 district.
Yep.
Pretty much, except for where we had the R1 extend down, but that didn't make it to the river.
Yeah. Well, but if we had a sudden population of cottontail rabbits in somewhere in R2,
Yeah, if we had a sudden population of cottontails in R2, we could designate it as such.
okay.
We want to just herd them up into the area we got right now.
Well, we don't have any technically.
If we do that?
I don't know, I found pursuing rabbits to be a rather frustrating task, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Understood. Why did I put that in there? Because we did have some habitat that wasn't identified by the state, but that was along the river, essentially, that got mowed down. And it was an issue in the planning board at one point. So these are just some of the ideas to throw out. Kennebunk River, deer wintering yards, which we can identify on the maps. New England cottontails, no, we don't have any maps, because technically we don't have any in this state, in this town. Farmland soils, we do have. Critical scenic vistas and historic resources. It's basically a district that you can apply when and where you need it. Because frankly speaking, what I was trying to do was put some goals on it, because the way we had it before was amorphous. If you read the cross-outs here and get rid of all the underlines, basically we said it's significant natural resource value. What's that mean? And where, in which we're gonna have little or no development, and where activities can potentially impact the resource value are regulated, whatever that means. Well, it means that they'll be regulated, but it doesn't really identify what these resources are. It just kinda leaves it up there and says, well, it's resources. But what are the resources? We didn't identify that, and nor did the other one. The original one didn't identify it either, except they seemed to overlay all the RP zones for some reason, which I think we agreed was pretty ridiculous, because you're saying you can develop your 3-acre lot in this zone. Oops, well, if you look underneath, there's an RP zone and it says you can't develop anything in here, including your 3-acre home, your 3-acre lot. You can't do it, except for the exemption provided the shoreline zoning. So it's kind of a strange lot, a strange district. Not sure what we want to do with it. Here's some suggestions on what we can do with it.
Right now, isn't it just one area around there,
No,
Brimstone, where is it?
it's around Brimstone
Yeah.
and the area around.
Right.
Yeah, it basically,
Where else?
it's along the river,
The whole river.
the whole river,
That's,
top to bottom.
okay.
Now, and the thing is, it
How
also,
deep along the river?
250, well, it's
That's
250
shoreline.
feet in some places.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
but shoreline doesn't cover the river now.
okay.
Okay, the Resource Protection District is only the floodplain of the Kennebunk River. It's not the entire Kennebunk River. That we have restrictions on timber harvesting, that you can't be within 75 or 100 feet. But the definitions now have changed, so it's no longer just the whole river, whereas it was before. So, it's only in the, as I said, in the floodplains. It's are defined on maps, but if you look at our zoning map, I guess I should have brought it, but you'll see it's blue all along the river, and then you'll see cross-hatching, and the cross-hatching is the RP zone. So, this is exclusive of the RP. It says it right up front. It says basically intended for areas aside from, and you can say exclusive from instead of aside, from shoreline resource protection districts, so this can't go over shore, resource protection districts, it's separate from those districts. So- And quite frankly, it's kind of stupid to even say that, because it's a district, you can't put a district on top of a district.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't tried that yet.
No, we didn't, we've been living with that since
No, I
two
mean,
thousand and seven.
We haven't tried
No, we
that
haven't
yet.
tried it yet. But that's what we have. We have an aberration on a map where we've sandwiched two districts on top of each other.
I have a problem with the sentence at the end of uses. Timber harvesting will be limited to those areas where the activity does not endanger deer wintering yards, eastern cottontail habitat, critical scenic landscapes, and the integrity of the habitat. Timber harvesting enhances eastern cottontail habitat.
Actually, it does, unless you drop it on the only time it doesn't is if you clear all the undergrowth out, which a harvester can do very effectively.
Yes, but I think that sentence needs work, because,
Sure.
and I would also argue that timber harvesting doesn't necessarily interfere with critical scenic landscapes, because sometimes as the trees grow up, you lose your scenic view, you need to cut them down to get it back.
Yeah.
That's what the Maine Turnpike told me when they widened the road.
Well, it's not always the case, but, and then integrity of the habitat, that takes us
It
back.
isn't always the case. No, absolutely.
So
not the case.
I would think we need to work on that sentence.
We certainly can.
Okay, because
I'd
it's
be
a little.
disappointed if they're, I have thrown out
Okay.
some
And then,
targets here,
integrity of the habitat, my question is which one? That takes us back to
The
the.
natural resource that we're protecting. The resource that we're protecting.
Well, then
Whatever that
that
may
it
be.
should say that,
That integrity of the protected, how about, instead of
the
habitat,
protected
The
resource.
protected resource.
But we need to do something about the rabbits and the landscapes.
Well, you know what it's like trying to identify a critical scenic landscape in this town? I think we have a whole district called SO. It's still a boiling cauldron of disagreement on, that the planning board will not implement.
And so,
Scenic overlay, Route 111. Otherwise known as the third rail.
everyone grab a hold.
Right.
I think what we should do is just fill that whole area with rabbits, we'll be all set.
Just get
I
in
tried.
there, dense growth, and
Oh,
we'll have
dear.
cottontails all through there.
Well, you know, as a cottontail, I've not seen any cottontail or any rabbit at all for almost 15 years or better. And I'm not joking.
What's the one that changes the color?
The coyotes.
Those are the snowshoe hares.
Snowshoe.
I
In
used
the
to- I use them all
20
the time, and I
plus
don't see
years that
them
I've
anymore.
owned
Yeah.
that lot,
The
I've
partridge was the same
seen
way, there was quite a few
one
partridges.
snowshoe.
And this year, I only jumped one. And that was all I think.
Oh, it was a bad year for partridge.
Yeah.
Because it was a tough winter, and then we had a wet spring.
Yeah,
And in May, it was dead dry.
Yeah.
By April, it was really wet, so they lost.
there was only one flying around, you know. And that was it, because I've walked in there quite a number of times.
I have plenty of turkeys.
And turkeys galore.
Turkeys, they
They roost
hatch
in the
it
trees.
later.
Yeah.
They roost in the trees and they hatch later,
Yeah.
in the season, so. And it's not eastern cottontail, it's New England. Eastern cottontail's not a problem, it's New England. Of which we are the northern, Cumberland County is the northern range. I put that in just,
But we're not Cumberland County, we're York.
right, but Cumberland's the northern, it's the northern range. And so we're in there, and there are a lot of towns around us that actually do have habitat. And I think we did have habitat that was down along the river. Several places that got cleared out. Just there was no record. The problem is you gotta report it to IFRS.
Well, so I'm just
Even the
gonna say
cottontails
that
won't
very
say
thing.
on
We
the
have
stakes.
no idea what we have,
No,
so,
okay, it's useless. It sounds good. It's one of those goals you wanna shoot for.
well,
You
maybe
gotta
maybe
have
not,
some
I
natural
don't know.
resources that we're trying to protect this district, otherwise get rid of it.
Well, there's an option.
Yeah, or make it or just the river.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue is, do you want to retain, I assumed that we were going to retain the district, because we didn't get rid of it. So the
Well,
question is,
the only reason we didn't get rid of it was because we didn't get to that. We were trying, our committee was trying to nail down all of those districts so that
That came
we
from
could
the
get that
planning
to
board to the
town
back
meeting,
door.
so the planning board could get on with their process. So we didn't do anything with this because we ran out of time. That's why we're meeting again this year. So we didn't keep it because we liked it, we just didn't get there. Just like we didn't finish the trailhead district, except to put the name in.
Well, yeah, it was, we made progress by moving the name.
Well, okay.
Session.
But what, see, I'm, not that I have anything against New England Cottontail Rabbits by a long shot,
No.
but I'm wondering if that isn't a bit too specific, if we're going to keep this. I mean, I can think of half a dozen things we ought to be protecting as resources.
Well, then let's have it.
Shagbark hickories.
We have that
What was it?
I think I have the,
Shag-
I have the
Shagbark
only,
hickories.
I have,
Tree.
There's
You
one
have
that-
some?
oh, I have,
Humongous.
I have some.
You have one that big?
We
Really?
have two.
Did you check the state, if you go to the forestry service? they
well,
have the state-
the big
Giant.
one is kind of, it's been hit by lightning, and then it's got a new one this big, and then my other one is like this big. And when I bought the property, the Burke property, and we mowed it for the first time because it was this high, they had mowed it in like 5 million years, my father saw them and mowed around them, and we've mowed around them, and now they're taller than this ceiling. So yeah, I have a whole bunch of shagbark hickories.
And that's the we're the northern range. of
Yes,
that.
we are.
Same thing with Nissus Sabbaticus too.
I've had people
Black
ask me for my
tuberose.
trees.
And I swear I saw one down below.
And
off
Monica
the Eastern
Russo could
Trail.
give you a list of 14 orchids we have in this town.
Well,
I knew there was some down by the back of my old store.
what, Tuplos?
No,
Or shagbarks?
orchids. Yeah, and there was one that was growing right at the corner by David Lane, and when he cleaned the ditch, well, a couple, 3-4 years ago, he pulled that sucker out at orchid.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was.
But the point I'm making, I mean, I've got 2 or 3 species of orchids that pop up in the field all the time.
Yeah,
If we were to make a real list of resources to protect, basically nobody could walk in their backyard, because we have because of where we are geographically, we are the northernmost point for many species and the southernmost point for many other species. We are in an ideal location for habitat diversity.
Just put the
But
dome
it's-
up, cover all of the rundle.
There you go, yes.
Maybe how long-
To protect, not that I'm opposed to protecting it, obviously you should, but I don't think it's a practical goal, because this, A, we don't know what we have, and B, even if we located all of it, we couldn't possibly protect it, because then nobody would be able to do anything. You know,
Well, there's scales of order. If we have large stands of something significant, if you have individual species, you know, just you have a small plot, that's one thing. But if you have a large stand that's unique, that's different. Critical areas habitat inventory has mapped a lot of those, but they won't let you have the map.
well,
Great.
and, well, I would take great issue with the thought that the state has any idea what's in most of this town. And I have
After last night, I would agree.
good reason for thinking that. You know, when we fought Site 9, I had a botanist go out on our land and do a plant survey.
Yeah.
I have a copy of it. It's amazing what's out there, including the shagbarks. But the state has never done that.
well, I had to hire and that's what I had done. The guy came in and bucked all my land after showed there was in there rare species of trees that's protected, you know, somewhat, and there was none. I have that list of trees, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, I think we should give some serious thought to whether this is a practical thing to have at all.
Well, that's the
So is this
question.
causing you grief, Bud? Is that why you came tonight?
well, no, I've been on the planning board for a number of years, you know, on different cases, you know, and I have a grandson here that wants to buy my house out here. And when he measured out, for the town plan, when I built the foundation here, he measured from here across, and that's 260 feet, and right here, the house is in the shoreline zone, okay?
Yeah, your problem isn't the NRC, your problem is shoreline zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Because
NRC has no impact on it. The NRC lets you believe that you can build in here, and the problem was, or, you know, said, oh, I can have 3-acre lots out here.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's already there.
Yeah, but I mean, if he wants to, he wanted to build some more out there, and the problem wasn't the NRC, it was the
Shoreline.
resource protection district underneath it, and he remapped it so he could get something else in there. You know, besides, because the whole block of land was in the resource protection district. And,
the trend is they're wintering out on this land here and all that stuff, and it's not, it's on, down in here somewhere.
yeah, there's some on Du Bois,
Yeah.
there's some on Curtis Road,
Yeah.
and
there was not.
a couple properties
There'll
on
be
the
a bunch of
Cannon
them.
lot out there.
Just letting them go
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different stuff. But the deer wintering route yard was never, we thought that was a factor, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
State confirmed that that wasn't why we finally had to do some forensic evidence of why the town's shoreline zoning maps were mapped the way they were. And by the situation was because they based it on a national wetlands inventory mapping, which was wrong. Well, they're all gonna be wrong. You know, very honestly, they're all gonna be wrong. That's why our wetlands, our resource protection and our shoreline zoning ordinance that we wrote says, you know, we modified the state. We said, you know, the wetland exists where the condition exists. You know, basically, the district is where the conditions, you know, where it qualifies for those conditions. Instead of mapping it, we said it's determined by field conditions. Our attorney doesn't like that, because she said, and she's right, that Superior Court has said, I don't think the law court has said it, the Superior Court has said, the zone is where the map is, says it is, not where the description is. And that's a terrible burden on municipalities, because in the case of shoreline zoning, which isn't even our idea, that's a state mandated program, it puts us in a position where we have to, as a municipality, go out and make our mapping accurate, which means we'd have to do wetlands delineation on a town-wide basis, especially in this town, which is floating in the first place. It's a huge burden. It's a great fiscal and regulatory burden on us. So we're kind of saying, no, it's where the conditions apply. We're gonna do that until something bad happens, until the selectmen ask us, you know, basically, why didn't you change it? You know, but right now, the costs to the town are just phenomenal.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Okay, there we go, that's the answer.
Right.
That's why we're keeping the language the
Right.
way it is right now. Costs are phenomenal. So Bud did that, but the town, and we were happy with that, but our town attorney said because that's a big area, we need to go through what we did, which was, okay, we'll take it to do the map change, and we did the map change at town meeting. And it was still relatively, you know, we're still gonna do it based on field conditions. But these happen.
I would like to turn it to the chair at the time.
Thank you. The vice chair is always on time.
So
All right, so we have this to think about, I think.
This is all high ground, there's no wetland here at all.
Right.
I know it's 250-foot setback, but I mean, I've talked to some other towns, and they say up there, some towns has just 75 feet, or 100 feet, you know, just like Kennebunk River, like 250 feet here on this side, it's all high ground.
Right.
I can see here, it's wetland, whatever, you know, that's it.
So what does the state say about shoreline zoning? How far is it away from?
250 feet from the upland edge of the resource.
But you're not really building those 200 feet, it's 100 feet, isn't it?
No, that's for the overlay district, not for resource protection.
Resource specific.
You know,
Yeah, I got that.
resource protection is the district, shoreline overlay is the overlay district.
So is it shoreline zoning? Is that what it's
The
called?
whole thing's called shoreline zoning. And if you're really excited and wanna learn
No.
more about it, it's in section 6.4 of the zoning ordinance.
I've been reading enough stuff lately, thank you very much.
All right, for the next meeting, give some thought to this natural resource conservation district. And, you know, we'll see if we wanna keep it or toss it. And if we're gonna keep it, then we'll we'll wordsmith it to death and do
Right.
something about those rabbits.
Mm.
Next meeting date would be December 1st.
I thought it was the second Tuesday.
Don't we meet on the first Tuesday usually? Yes, we
Is it
do.
the first Tuesday?
Yeah,
Why
we're
did we
meeting
do it
the
this
second,
time?
because we had voting last Tuesday.
And we didn't wanna vote and
Stop us.
Well, I don't know about you, but I was running a bake sale. There are
I
priorities.
was not running a big
Oh,
sale.
see, you missed out. Anyway, any questions or anything else we need to worry about? So we'll basically keep the agenda the same, we'll just revisit it. Okay,
Okay.
all right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for this evening.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
Good night, everybody. Take it easy, buddy.
Who's hosting tonight's debate?
Fox Business Network.
Oh, God, that ought to be interesting then.
Cavuto?
Yeah, and Bartiromo and somebody else.
Actually, it's more fun than the highlights.
can I have another copy of that agenda, please?
So are they actually gonna like enforce the, you know,
Thank you.
one candidate gets to speak and no one interjects and.
It's the media.
Well, I don't know, I mean,
I gotta shut this off.
what they want to do and what happens are very often two different things. But, you know, that's why it's entertaining.